I was 24, working two restaurant jobs, pulling 300 bucks a day. Thought I had it figured out, but I still felt stuck. That scared me more than being broke. Most people think that if you're making money, you're winning, but what happens when the money is coming in and you still feel like you're going nowhere? That was me, two shifts a day. Lunch rush, dinner rush, smiling, serving, hustling, and everyone thought I had it figured out. But inside, I was trapped. I was restless. I started asking myself, is this really it? Is this the ceiling of what I can do and make and create for myself in my life? It hit me really hard. I realized I was busy serving, not building. And that scared me more than any paycheck could fix. But then something happened, a conversation with a friend that flipped my world upside down. One sentence from him pushed me down a completely different path. And that one moment led me to a life I'd never thought I'd live, consulting with Fortune 500 companies, traveling the world and doing work I actually love. This video is for anyone who feels stuck, uncertain, overwhelmed, ready for change, but doesn't know where to start. Because I promise you, there is a way out. And today, I'm going to show you how I found mine. I wasn't just clocking in, I was giving it everything. I'd wake up, hit the lunch shift at one spot, take a break, then jump straight into dinner service somewhere else. Every single day, there was like no days off. And sometimes I'd be walking home with like 300 in tips, thinking, okay, this is decent, but deep down, I knew it wasn't it. I'd started running the math and thinking, if I do this 5 days a week, that's decent money, but I'm not building anything and I'm not growing. It was like I had hit a ceiling made of glass. It was visible, but unbreakable. And even though no one around me could see it, I felt like every time I took orders, reset a table, smiled through exhaustion. Remember sitting in the back of the restaurant one night, just sweaty apron, aching feet, headache, like really sick actually, thinking this can't be the final version of me. But I had no idea of what more even looked like. That was the scariest part. It's not the grind itself that was scary, but the fact that I was grinding without direction. And so that's when life handed me a moment I'll never forget. So one night I was venting to a friend, someone who I respected deeply, and he was a senior architect for Amazon.com. And he just hit me with, Hector, you got to get out, man. The restaurant industry is dying. The world is changing. You got to evolve with it. That sentence cracked something in me. It opened me up and I didn't know exactly what to do, but I knew that I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. So I asked them, what should I try? And just like that, we started selling Indian meditation CDs because my buddy was from India on Google pay-per-click ads back when Google pay-per-click ads were still brand new. Early 2000s. It was, nobody really knew what they were doing anyway. So it was messy. It was random. We might have sold like 50 out of 300 CDs that we had in stock, physical stock. And it wasn't some overnight success story by any means. We barely broke even. But mentally and emotionally, something shifted. That one experience flipped the script in my brain of what was possible. I realized I don't need to have it all figured out. I just need to start testing. As Mike Littman would say, you don't have to get it right. You just have to get it going. And that was like running in the background of my brain. Needed to start testing and tinkering and figuring out, like, if this doesn't work, what else can I do? It's not about the resources, it's about your resourcefulness. And so I just became extremely resourceful and kept throwing mud at the wall, see what would stick. So I stopped waiting and I started doing. And that moment taught me that movement, any movement towards progress creates momentum. And when you chase curiosity instead of comfort, doors you didn't even know existed start opening. And that mindset, the disappointments that I was experiencing became my drive. So once that door cracked open, I couldn't close it. I started obsessing not about money, but about growth. I started devouring everything I could on Tony Robbins, Alan Watt, T. Harv Eker, and a bunch of other really smart people that I could expose myself to digitally. And anyone who talked about mindset, psychology, influence, business, I studied like my life depended on it. And in a way, it did really, because every new book, every new idea, every quote was just another step outside of the mental box that I had been trapped in. And so I began seeing patterns. And the people who were thriving didn't just work hard; they thought differently. They questioned authority, they questioned assumptions, they questioned the government, they took risks, and they invested in themselves. And so that's what I did as well. So instead of watching Netflix, I watched videos on YouTube from people that I respected and trusted and really cared about. These strangers that were actually like my guiding force. Every night after I was done working, I would just be obsessed with what's the edge, what's the breakthrough, what's the insight I need to get my life from where it is now to where I want to be. And yeah, instead of partying, I just built new habits. I would still party once in a while, but I wasn't like obsessed with partying. It was really just about building a habits, strategies, tactics. I learned about copywriting, marketing, consulting frameworks, and I basically turned my mind into a laboratory. Eventually, that thinking turned into action. I landed a corporate gig, not just any gig, but a consultant as a role within a Fortune 500 company. Eventually, that thinking turned into action. I landed a couple really pivotal jobs. One of them was at a mortgage company as an executive assistant while I was still working tables. The other one was as a recruiter. Back then, it was one of the largest recruiting firms in the country. And they sent me on a really elaborate training on what applications do, what the infrastructure of those applications represents, like hardware and stuff like that, and then telecommunications. So I was trained on three different modalities. Now, the reason I'm telling you this is because the context of what broke the shell, it broke the frame that I was in that I mentioned earlier. And so from then on, I went from a corporate recruiter to real estate recruiter, and from real estate recruiter at the local level for about 5 years. Then all of a sudden, I was on planes, staying in five-star hotels every year since I started working at the local level for this real estate company. They would send me to their global conference, and at the global conference, I would teach on digital marketing, sales, and technology for the owners of those brokerages. And this was still in my 20s, so I would be going there every year, and I would be teaching on the latest, greatest tools and technology and cutting edge resources for businesses. And this was just from my own discovery before they were even teaching this in colleges. And I also got invited to teach at UCLA as a guest professor from one of my students who had graduated some of the training that I deliver for him when he was getting his real estate license. He went on to become a big real estate mogul. And that's just one of them. I actually have multiple clients that became huge real estate influencers and very successful, which I'm very proud of. So then I decided to go out on my own. And while I was independently consulting, there was about a year and a half, 2 years that I was just doing consulting. I was running my own business, and then one of these corporate conglomerates reached out to me. It was actually at the time the number one largest real estate company in the world reached out to me, and they offered me a position as a consultant with a large territory across Southern California, Alaska, and Hawaii, which I ended up taking. It was an awesome run. I was there for nearly a decade, was able to help people implement technology in their business. And so the most powerful part about that experience wasn't just about the lifestyle. It was the fact that I belonged there because I had created real value, value that was beyond just making a paycheck. But all of those restaurant shifts had trained me in psychology, resilience, and leadership under pressure. And so the kid who once dreamed of being a waiter was now helping multi-million dollar companies fix broken systems or implement systems that were being ignored to move the needle to where they wanted it to go. And so I didn't get there with a perfect plan. I just got there because I never stopped feeding the fire. I never stopped being hungry. I just kept seeking new knowledge, new experiences, new people, and I still do that even to this day. Growth became a non-negotiable for me, and my hunger for learning and for applying what I learned became my greatest asset, not just for me, but for the clients and the people that I got to work with as well, and that I get to work with even now. So after a few years in corporate, I started feeling that itch again. The internal nudge that was telling me it was time to level up, right? I was grateful. I'd learned so much. I'd traveled the world, been in rooms that I'd never imagined, but I knew deep down I didn't want to just build other people's dreams forever. So I made the jump. No investors, no roadmap, just me, my laptop, and the skills I'd stacked over the years of trial and error. And that's when life got really interesting. I began consulting independently outside of the corporate comfy blanket. I started with the contacts I'd made in real estate. Then I went to manufacturing. Then I went to healthcare, fitness, and I've worked with some pretty high level influencers as well, and a variety of different industries, different problems. But one truth kept showing up: the ability to solve problems is more valuable than any job title. And I had learned how to do that by watching, listening, adapting, and never settling for less than what I wanted. And some clients were huge, some were tiny, but every project sharpened me. It helped me build confidence. Every challenge reminded me that I had chosen the path. And because I had chosen it, I can shape it as well. And so the security of a paycheck was gone, but so were the limits. So here's the truth most people never hear: you're not stuck because of your job. You're stuck because of how you see yourself. Three close friends tell me exactly the same thing last year. I hate my job, but I don't know what else to do. And every time I tell them the same thing. You don't need all the answers. You just need to start asking better questions. So the first one is, what are you feeding your mind every day? If your environment tells you that struggle is normal, that burnout is necessary, and that dreaming is dangerous, guess what? You'll believe it. Your mind is being programmed whether you realize it or not. And the second question is, what are you projecting about yourself into the world? Are you telling people directly or indirectly that you're capable, adaptable, or willing to learn? Or are you just shrinking yourself to survive every day? When I changed the way I thought about myself, the world responded differently. And when I changed what I projected, opportunities started to find me. You're not powerless, you're just early in the process. And the process can start today with a decision, with a shift, and a single action. So if you've been feeling stuck, unsure, or invisible in your current life, you're not alone. I was there too. But I'm living proof that you can change your story. And you don't need a perfect plan. You just need to start moving, stay curious, and rewire your brain for how you see yourself. Because once you shift your mindset and your heart set, everything around you starts to shift as well. It reminds me of Tony's old quote that he said, the quality of your life is the quality of your communication. Number one, with yourself, and number two, with other people around you. If this hit home for you, like and subscribe, drop a comment, send a message, or share this with somebody who needs it because we're just getting started.